We have such a wonderful day in front of us today with you together, the second day of DLDwomen, and we're very happy to kick that off now. Steffi, we're happy to kick that off with our Hausherr, you could say. I don't know what the English word of Hausherr is. The housekeeper. You're more than a housekeeper.
I'm the housewife and you're the housekeeper.
Yes. No, it's more because we owe you to be here. And I think everybody is just fascinated about this wonderful place we are, the Deutsche Museum. The new part, which you particularly as the general director has built, over the last years. And Professor Wolfgang Heckel is the general director of das Deutsche Museum in Munich. And he will, in a second, speak to us a little bit about the Deutsche Museum, especially about the connection of the Deutsche Museum and how the Deutsche Museum is supporting, fostering also that there are more women, basically, in science. You are supporting that also. I know you're within the museum, but also within your work. But before that, let me also just introduce a little bit who you are. Professor Wolfgang Heckel is the General Director of the Museum. In 2004, you have been appointed to the museum, and as you know, the museum is the largest museum in Germany. Now a few numbers. It's 1.6 million yearly visitors coming to the museum. From how many countries is it?
Well, from every country on earth, I'd say. Every country on earth. Sometimes I have a feeling even some aliens are here.
So the movie with the aliens living here, a man in black, and that's funny. But what is also interesting is basically the museum has, you speak about the museum later, but it's about you, basically. Wolfgang Heckel is also a very renowned scientist himself, has been working, you are the expert of nanoscience, not only in Germany, but throughout Europe. Before you came here, you've been appointed to the University of Tokyo to build the Nanoscience Institute. Before you had several functions here in Germany with Nobel laureates, working with them here in Munich and also in Toronto before. And Wolfgang Heckel also holds a Guinness Book World Record, which is right, because you created, you have to explain that actually, what you did. You created the smallest hole in the world.
Drilled it.
You drilled the smallest hole in the world, and it's a fascinating image. I remember when we saw that, and I think you played soccer with this hole in the world. So it's wonderful because you always combine and connect also science to society. That's why you won several awards for science communication. And I think that's important. And this museum is more than a museum. It's a platform for science communication. It's a platform to fascinate young people on science. And I think that's something you will explain us in a minute. I thought initially to tell you about the many highlights of today's program, Steffi, yes. But DLD is friendship and surprise, so it's much more fun not to tell you what's coming, basically. And you have the program. So we keep out of the way now, and the floor is to Professor Heckel. Have fun today.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Steffi. Good morning again. It's hard to get up so early, I know. But for me, it's a real reward to see you as you are here. Because such a high-rising, such a lively, such a lovely conference is, I think, for the first time here in the Center for New Technologies. We opened this Center for New Technologies just 5 months ago. The President of Germany said when he opened this, it's another brick in the wall in terms of communicating science and technology to the people. Because our democratic society is based on the fact that people know what they have to decide in the future. And we are facing problems, huge problems. Mankind is facing huge problems in the future. To name a few: energy consumption, environmental problems, problems of an aging society, you name it. And one part of solutions, if at all, can only come from people who have brain which sticks into science and technology. I'm not talking about a very primitive and naive approach to science as we had maybe 100 years ago, but without including the inventions, the discoveries of brains, of people, of women and men who dedicate their lives to the endeavor of nature, how to fit people with nature, we will not be able to save our problems. You may have realized when you entered the museum that we have the new battery cars already driving in the museum. We are running out of fuel. That's one big problem in the future, and we don't know how to solve this question. And only nanotechnology can help us to produce new batteries, to produce all the infrastructure also we need to make a big move and a big change from the combustion motor to the electromotor. Funny enough, 100 years ago, the electromotor was already on the stage. We have the first car in the world, the Benz motor wagon from 1886 in our transportation branch here nearby at the Theresienhöhe. But at the time, there was a competing approach to car movement. That was the electromotor. But at the end, the combustion motor, the one based on fuel, on carbohydrates, fuel, it was the one who won the race at that time. But nowadays, as I said, we're running out of fuel and we have to think about what we do in the future. The Center for New Technologies is not discernible at first glance. This is a more than fitting place for the DLDwomen conference, I think. As one of the fastest growing and most cutting-edge sciences, the nanotechnologies today, it holds a lot of promise for aspiring and innovative women whose achievements the Deutsches Museum is looking forward to present to a larger public. However, female achievements in science, technology, and management have not always been center staged at museums, not at the Deutsches Museum and certainly not at other science and technology museums. Just as many other institutions, the Deutsches Museum first had to learn to see women and their influential and multiple roles in technology, media, and economy. Inspired by and brought to life in large part by the enthusiasms and verve of one great man, the engineer and founder Oskar von Miller, the Deutsches Museum started out as an epitome of male dominance, both in science and public life, and the almost entire exclusion of women at the time. True to its time, supporting politicians, company managers, and exhibition makers saw women as rather emotional than rational and ambitious in nature, and therefore mostly alienated, at times even hostile to technology and science. The fact that they were dealing with different kinds of machinery on an everyday basis while taking care of household, for example, and cultivating agricultural lands was largely overlooked at that times. Luckily, societies advance, and with them, dynamic institutions such as our house. Over the last couple of decades, our museum has actively worked towards a gender-sensitive and women-inclusive view on technology. We had several research projects on that topic, and it's very enthusiastic to see that many people, even in the traditional area in our houses, are involved in these projects. On the exhibition floors, as well as behind the scenes of the Deutsches Museum, for instance in the administration and in the research departments and the workshops, women and their representations have contributed to a new way of looking at technology. I'd better say we are in a process of looking in a new way on technology. The percentage of women on staff at the Deutsches Museum has continuously risen, especially in high qualified and managing positions. 2 out of 4 branches of the Deutsches Museum are led by women directors. That is the Transportation Museum at the Theresienhöhe here in Munich, and this is the Deutsches Museum in Bonn, the former capital. And women have become more visible in the exhibitions and education projects of the museum. The Center for New Technology here is headed by one young scientist and a young scientist woman. The necessary basis for bringing the technology contribution of women to the forefront in the exhibitions is our research. Within the manifold range of projects executed by the museum's own research institute, gender has become an indispensable factor of analysis. In addition to those studies examining the historical achievements of prominent women in technology, such as, for instance, an engineer and pilot, Melita Schiller, many undertakings are bent on unraveling the substantial influence of less famous women that societies too often lose sight on. The research projects, objects of energy consumption, for instance, currently jointly undertaken by the Deutsches Museum and the Technical University of Munich, and generously funded by the German Ministry of Education and Research, turns to the museum's too long hidden but stunning collection of household appliances and examines those objects from an integrative perspective, combining consumer, gender, and environment studies. The study uncovers the important role that women have played in the history of household mechanization, both as a consumer and as an expert. By retrieving the traces of women's informative input in the sphere of technology, it becomes clear that women have indeed always influenced technology and its innovation and production processes, even if they were seldom recognized by the public as technologically versed. As this example shows, women were always a force in the technology process. What held them back for a long time, however, was lacking support by men and missing networks such as DLDwomen. High visibility of women's contributions to technologies, though, is necessary for change of attitudes. By carrying research findings over into exhibitions, as envisioned with this project, the visibility of women's historical and future contributions to technologies is guaranteed. To do historical research in this field it is necessary to have an intensive look at our collections. First, a huge collection of around 100,000 objects, instruments, paintings, and so on. Then the collection of sources at our archives with more than 4.5 kilometers of original material. We count bookshelves in kilometers. Among them, several holdings concerning female pilots, like, for instance, the German Hanna Reitsch or Marga von Etzdorf. Actually, pilots, women were often pilots, pioneering pilots. If you go through the collection, you will find at certain points women as pioneering pilots. Even the first car ride was made by a woman. Paula Benz drove the Benz motorwagon her husband had in the backyard, didn't use it because she wanted to bring the cake she had made on this Sunday afternoon from Mannheim to Stuttgart. And she kind of stole the car out of the backyard, and then had to find the fuel stations all the way along from Mannheim to Stuttgart. And she went into the pharmacies and got benzene in order to fill it up. So the story begins with a woman making cars usable for men. The third part of our sources is the collection of books in our library. Nowadays we hold around 1 million books. When the library built, it was opened in 1932, there was a special engagement of some Munich women, which was called the Women's Donation. The aim was to buy books of females, authors from all fields of natural sciences and techniques, and to donate them to our library. During the following 15 years, more than 5,000 books were donated. So in a sense, the founding of the Deutsches Museum was heavily supported, at least when it comes to the library, to an initiative which was started by women in Munich. In its history over the last 100 years, the Deutsches Museum has evolved from a male-dominated world of technology to an open, engaging, and seminal institution at the cutting edge of technological research and exhibitions which now not merely include but build upon women's contributions to the fields of digital, business, design, media, health, politics, and science. Our society, and with it the Deutsches Museum, has certainly come a long way, but we are not yet there. Certainly we are not yet there. If we are engaged in our MINT activities, MINT means the activities we have for especially young people in mathematics, engineering sciences, natural sciences, we know that we have enthusiastic contributions by girls. We have these girls' days, and up to the age of around 14, 15, it's quite an equal situation. But from 15 years, I'd say, on, we see still a separation. We see the separation that men stick to engineering, and we find when we look at the starting numbers of engineers at the universities, we find only 10%, for instance, of women starting with a universal courses in engineering. And something happens between 15 years and 18 years. And this is a serious problem we have to face. Our society, and with it the Deutsches Museum, has certainly come a long way, but we are not yet there. I wish you, the participants of the DLDwomen, a conference fruitful and trend-setting, enjoyable and stimulating, I think, in the great environment we can offer to you within these 2 days. Have fun, spread the good word, and come again. Thank you very much.